Ever feel like you're behind because your path hasn't been linear? Detours might be exactly what gets you to where you're meant to go. Welcome to Smart Driven Women. I'm Rona Job. Here, impactful women leaders and entrepreneurs come to share how they navigate their complex careers and personal lives. Our guest today is Caroline Woods. She is the executive director of Girls on the Run of Northern Virginia, a nonprofit dedicated to inspiring girls to be joyful, healthy, and confident. Caroline brings more than a decade of experience in nonprofit leadership and victim services with a career focused on supporting children, families, and communities impacted by trauma. After years in crisis response, Caroline was drawn to Girls on the Run because of its focus on prevention, reaching girls early and equipping them with the life skills and confidence to thrive as teenagers, young adults, and beyond. Caroline is also a mom of 2 young children and is continually learning how to balance her career and family so she can show up as the best version of herself in both, albeit a little sleep deprived. Her favorite moments are when she can bring those worlds together at the Girls on the Run 5K, sharing her enthusiasm for both her work and her family. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of us here. Caroline, welcome.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
I am too. Now, as we usually do, we'll start off with some rapid fire questions, and then I can't wait to dive into your story and dig a little deeper beyond that bio. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Awesome. Coffee or tea in the morning?
Tea has to be iced.
What city do you live in?
I live in Reston.
What's the last book you finished?
The Correspondent.
Oh, I heard that's a good one, actually. That's been getting recommended a lot to me recently.
Book club just read it. We all loved it.
One word to describe your leadership style?
Empowering.
Favorite app on your phone?
Photos.
Same. That and maps.
Yes, needed much around here to save time with traffic.
Podcast or audiobooks?
Audiobooks. I just don't have the time to read.
Who's a professional role model for you?
I think I'm going to go with a really dear friend of mine from Connecticut who started a gym on her own for women to empower them. And it really was a turning point in my life when I met her.
Oh, lovely. One cause you are passionate about?
Children's health and safety.
Mountains or beach for vacation?
Absolutely beach.
Best career advice you've ever received?
Don't worry if you have to take a detour.
I like that. I like that a lot. And what trend in your industry excites you the most, whether that be in girls empowerment or in nonprofit or in advocacy or anything?
I'm going to go with at Girls on the Run. I'm really excited about within the athletic sports realm that we have social emotional learning being woven in more and more.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot of that more these days than 20, 30 years ago. So love that. Okay,
Yes.
we're going to dive right in.
Let's do this.
Before you started your professional career journey, did you consider yourself driven? And when did it start?
No, I don't consider myself driven. I really didn't even know, even going into college, I wasn't one of those people that go to college, this is what I want to do. And it was in college when I had an internship. I thought I wanted to go to marketing. I thought I wanted to go into business. Senior year, I had an internship in marketing and advertising, and I was like, wow, that is not at all what I want to do. I've done a lot of learning and growing through my career, and I think that has allowed me to be more driven as I've gotten further along in my career. And again, as I said before, a good friend of mine once said, don't be scared to take that detour. And I think I've had, not one linear path. It's been linear with a sideways turn back to the beginning or back to the path, up straight, then a little curve. And now I'd say I'm much more driven than I ever was. I think that also comes with age and experience and building confidence in who I am, both professionally and personally.
That's so interesting to me because it sounds like driven to you had a very specific definition. And it wasn't until maybe you built some confidence and really kind of followed your passion of learning it kind of dawned on you to be like, yeah, I am driven. It is, I want to make an impact. I want to take detours, and that's okay, because it sounded like being driven to you was like, you don't take detours. You're just going to go for it.
I thought you had an end goal and that was it, and I have to work towards that. Am I going to be a lawyer? Am I going to be a doctor? And that is the one path I take? No, not at all. I really didn't know. And I have to say, it's been really fun to take those detours and learn a little bit more about myself and learn about who I wanted to be professionally, because the career that I'm in is not one I would have ever expected to be. And along the way, they weren't where I thought I'd be either.
Mm-hmm. When did you start recognizing that you were taking detours and you were like, oh, this is leading me towards my passion, towards me wanting to drive this impact?
I think one of the first detour was in college. And then pretty soon after that, figuring out, I did at one point thought I wanted to be a doctor. And so went on the path of going back to school to try to do that. And then, nope, that wasn't quite it. And then learning about another profession along the way called child life that I could do and work in the hospital and work with children and advocate for children and advocate for their rights within the hospital. That then I think that's when I started to see who I really was and what I was really wanting to do in my career. I was still young at that point. I didn't know all the different opportunities. I think it was around 30 that I was like, I want to be an executive director one day. I remember telling the executive director of the mental health organization that I worked for then, she asked me kind of what my goals were. And I said, I want to have a job like you one day. Yeah. I don't know if I want your exact job, but I know I want to be an executive director. And so that was kind of the first time I ever knew that was where I saw myself.
What was her reaction?
She loved it. She loved it. She thought that was so neat that I had that vision, and that I think it was neat for her to share with someone younger and less experienced at that point, who wanted to do what she does. I think it showed maybe some respect to her at that time too. I respect what she did. It was hard. I did not want her role. And I recognized that. And I think it was neat for her to share in it with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Identity sounds like a big thing, and confidence in your identity and what you want to do is really a big factor in whether or not you are, or you consider yourself driven. Do you see any similarities with the girls and Girls on the Run year after year, season after season? Yes. I feel like that's a bit of a leading question, but
I mean, yes, of course. That's why I love this organization so much. And I think that's why I was drawn to it. I wasn't confident. I had to build this confidence. And I mentioned in the rapid fire questions in the beginning about my dear friend Krista Doran from Connecticut. She really helped build my confidence. And I think it was around the same time, when I was around 30, that I started to believe in myself. And one of the things she always said is, it was in this gym, is maybe you're not there yet, or you can do hard things. And I really like to remind our participants the same things. You may not be ready to run a 5K. You may not be ready to walk a 5K yet, but you will be able to. Each practice, we're going to take a step further. And by the end of the season, you're going to be able to complete that 5K. And I like to remind them too that they can do hard things. I don't think I was really told that as a young female, that we can too do hard things. They don't have to be simple things to check off the list just because I'm a girl. Yeah. But no, I can be just as successful as the next person. It just might take a little work. Yeah. So I loved those two phrases.
Even as an adult, I think it's so important for somebody to tell you it's okay to be this uncomfortable. It's okay to do these hard things. You can do these hard things, because a lot of times, I think even as adults, we get to the point that we're at, you're like, why does it have to be this hard? And you're like, sometimes it is hard. Sometimes it is uncomfortable. But a lot of times, it may not be. And you forget that, like, sometimes it's okay to do hard things.
Sitting in the uncomfortable is something else that I've learned is an okay thing to do. It doesn't have to always be happy. Things don't have to be easy. Another thing, a phrase I have on my bulletin board over there is try, fail, fix ponytail, try again.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, let's learn from our mistakes. Try it. It is okay to fail. It is okay to sit in the uncomfortable, because boy, I can tell you early on, I thought if I failed, I wasn't going anywhere. I was going to be fired. And actually now, I talk about trying to have empowering leadership. I really enjoy seeing my employees not failing, but learning. And if they do fail, great. Let's learn from that. Let's take that opportunity to see what went wrong, how we can grow from it. And that's the only way I think I have gotten to where I have been, is that it's okay to, maybe if I didn't reach a goal this season, last year, I'm worried about setting ambitious goals. It's okay. Set those ambitious goals and fail, and then reiterate and see how it can advance where you're going, instead of thinking that it's going to set you way back.
It is really uncomfortable to deal with failure. Like, I know we all know it's the best teacher and the best experience, but it sucks to fail.
Sure does. Sure does. That is a hit on your ego. It's a hit on your confidence. And again, I do think, though, with time and experience, there is an opportunity to learn that uncomfortable feeling. We can learn to manage it. It's not to say that it's going to go away. I don't think those uncomfortable feelings ever go away. Anytime you fail, it's still like a little pit in my stomach of like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? What are going to be the bigger impacts, long-term outcomes? But no, let's sit in this for a minute and feel it. And then how can we react to it in a more positive way?
Yeah. Do you recall how differently you have handled failures as an adult, maybe post 30 versus pre 30 or even pre 20s? And are there any sort of like interesting kind of experiences that you're like, yeah, I'm glad I did it this way, or I wish I'd done it that way, that some folks listening could learn from or could find insightful?
I would say before 30, it crushed me. Be debilitating. I wouldn't be able to do work for the rest of the day. If maybe it was something, a specific task that I didn't do well, or I failed at, or I couldn't do, or a problem that I couldn't figure out in school, a test I didn't do well on, it literally would paralyze me. And I couldn't think of anything but that. And I would just perseverate on it, and really beat myself up. And then it was those learning moments of, okay, it's okay to fail. Let's take these baby steps. I'm trying to think of a specific moment or something that it was okay for me to fail on. I'm going to have to, let me think a little bit more about that, because I would love to share. Because if only that could be imparted on every woman, on anybody really, but especially women, that just because we fail doesn't mean we're failures, or just because we can't do something doesn't mean we're failures. We are learning, we are growing at every moment of our life, from grade school, elementary school, middle school, all the way into adulthood, into our next stage of retirement. I think there's always opportunity to learn.
I like to keep in mind, and I remind my team as well, that lasting change, lasting progress is actually slow. A lot of times, most of the times. And so, I think about how young girls, women, really anybody, even, my teenagers, like going through that corner of taking that failure and letting it be so debilitating to yourself, versus like learning how to like take a failure and go, okay, it's less debilitating. And then finally getting to that point of like, it's okay, we failed. I know what I did wrong. I know what I learned. I'm going to get up and try again.
Yep. Yeah. And it can be hard to sit in it for some time.
Yeah.
I mean, how quickly do we want that pain to go away, right? And like, quick, stop. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel that pit in my stomach. But I think, again, learning to sit in it and really reflecting. I know at my last job, we did a lot of retrospective thinking after a project was implemented. And I think that was really helpful, because it wasn't just okay, quick, let's fix this. It's okay, what did we learn from this? What went wrong? What could be better? How can we learn moving forward? And I think, again, it wasn't a quick fix all the time. And I'm very impatient. My mom will be the first to say that. I like things to be fixed very quickly. And I think that has been something I've needed to learn as an adult too, is that things do take time, as you're saying. And it's a slow process, and you have to be okay and not have that immediate pain, just want to wash away the immediate pain by fixing something really quickly. Let's talk through it.
Yeah. You worked a lot with young children in general that are impacted, I think, by trauma, right, in families. How did that experience lead you, or maybe talk a little bit about that story of going from there to Girls on the Run?
Yep. So, yes, my first half, I would say, of my career so far was really spent working with victims of all sorts of crimes, whether it be physical abuse, sexual abuse, human trafficking, gun violence, community violence, helping make sure that people are connected to different services that they need to hopefully recover, or move forward with what they experienced. It was really hard, seeing the pain in each of those individuals, knowing how what they experienced was going to impact their life, but also at the same time very empowering that I could potentially make a small impact in their life. And during those times, it was really helpful to learn about how early intervention, prevention type work can help maybe mitigate some of the longer term outcomes that kids are going to face, they could potentially face. And it was along the same time that I learned about Girls on the Run. I was one of those who thought Girls on the Run was a running program, didn't know that there was this whole other level of social emotional learning, and that we're equipping girls with these life skills to be strong and confident, to be leaders. So I actually, when I was in Connecticut, helped start a chapter up there. And that was a really interesting ordeal to do. But then I moved down here, I had a job working at an anti-trafficking organization. But I knew I wanted to be on the other side. I think also I'd reached the tipping point of how much I could personally, I could take on in terms of kind of secondary trauma. I think it was time for me to move on.
Yeah.
And I then started to learn more and more. I knew now at that point that Girls on the Run was much more than a running program. And so I put it out in the universe that, like, hey, I want to work for this organization. I want to work for this organization who is helping transform these young girls' lives, giving them the confidence, telling them they can do hard things. I remember I went to a fundraiser for Girls on the Run of Northern Virginia, and I saw the executive director there. And I remember, here's another opportunity. I went and talked to her, and I told her I wanted her job one day.
I love that.
My confidence clearly has changed over time, right? Never would have done that before. But I was like, hey.
I kind of want to be an executive director to, hey, I want your job.
I want literally your job. Yeah. And it's funny because after I got this job, she didn't remember that. And it wasn't long after that she had moved on. And I decided to apply for this job. And again, the reason it was just the perfect, again, little curve, because I know how important learning these skills early on is to helping girls be strong, confident, and maybe be less vulnerable to some of the crimes that I saw. Maybe, whether it be domestic violence or sexual assault. But then if they unfortunately do experience some of those, then I do know also that they are going to have the tools and skills that they can be more confident and be stronger, more resilient, that hopefully they can recover and continue to move on and move forward with their lives. So it was just the perfect pivot for me at that point.
Yeah. You're equipping them. You're equipping the girls.
That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And it's so empowering to see them. I mean, you see them at the end of the 5K when they cross that finish line. For those of you who have never been to a Girls on the Run 5K, it is the energy, the joy that you see when you see these girls cross the finish line and realize, wait, I can do this. I did that. Not that I can do it. I did it. And hopefully that is setting them up at that point for the rest of their life to say, I can do this. I can do hard things. It might not be, like we talked about, it might not be comfortable. And it might be quite painful and quite emotional during whatever the time frame may be. If it's during a 5K, it could be 30 minutes to an hour. It could become uncomfortable at that time. But wow, is it amazing to cross the finish line and then feel the sense of accomplishment that they do. It's so awesome. Yeah. I encourage anyone who has an opportunity, which Girls on the Run is across the country, find a Girls on the Run 5K. You will leave there ready to take on the world, watching these young individuals, just their joy.
And so many amazing supporters, like on the sidelines, you know, at the 5K village, like lots of great supporters and encouragement.
Yeah. You leave ready to take on the world. Like the adults leave ready to take on the world. The kids leave ready to take on the world.
My daughter was very happy. She beat me at the last 5K. And this was my third time running the Girls on the Run 5K.
Well, good for her. I love that. I love that.
Speaking of children and speaking of family, I did want to switch gears a little bit and talk about building a family, growing a family, especially in this area, especially in your line of work, in your position, in your career. And I love to ask smart-driven women, like, how do you see yourself as a parent versus how did you see yourself as a non-parent? How did that change? You know, with I get this question a lot from other young women who want to become moms someday. A lot of them are sort of afraid that they're not going to be who they are, or that things would change for them, or that they would, you know, not be the same person, basically.
Gosh, I could talk for hours on this. I'm an older mom, and so I had a good 40 years of developing my sense of who I was. And it really, as I've talked about, I didn't really develop my sense of identity and be confident in who I was until I was in my 30s. And so, yes, I mean, you are change. There is a change, but gosh, has it been the best change? And I think it's brought out who I truly am. Mm-hmm. I have always wanted to be a mom, so I feel very, very, very lucky that at this stage of my life, I could become a mom while also having the career that I have dreamed of. I mean, this is truly my dream job. I love coming to work. I love the people I work with. I love the mission of this organization. And I absolutely love being a mom. I have had to change my schedules, my routines. I get a lot less sleep. I used to be someone like, oh gosh, it's 9:00. I've got to get out of bed now. Now it's 6:30. I'm lucky to still be in bed at that point.
Sleeping in is 7 a.m.
Exactly. This morning, my son slept till 7:20. I was like, oh my gosh, of course, I've got to get up and going. Why are you sleeping today? And I was never scared of it changing me, but it has. But you get to see, I will say it's been hard. It's hard to figure out. I think I said this in my bio, or this was in my bio, is I want to be the best version of myself in both situations. And that can be really hard.
Oh, yeah. It was literally what I was thinking of. I'm like, that is a really, really tall order. And
yes,
a lot of us take it on, though. Probably many of us.
I think many women do. And we want to be at the top, and we want to be the best mom we can be to our children. But I don't always show up as the best version of myself. And so while that's what I strive to, this is where I have to learn to be like, okay, and it's okay to not be. I have cried in front of my children on multiple occasions, and I actually feel okay with that. I think it's good for them to see that I have a wide variety of emotions. I'm not always happy. There are lots of different things that can impact that, right? I want at a young age for my children to know that emotions of all different types are okay. As comfortable or uncomfortable as we say Girls on the Run, they are. I think I'm still figuring it out. I have made adjustments. I don't go out with my girlfriends every week like I used to. And that was a transition that I had to accept. Okay. That was really fun when I moved here. I also wonder, I feel so badly for my girlfriends who I would make go out with me every week. When they had children at home, I was like, how did you guys do that? I'm exhausted. So I think I've had to sit back and say, you know what, it's okay to maybe once a month meet up, but making sure not to totally give up my social life. And my girlfriends, I need them. They are an incredible support to me. We're all, career driven moms. And so we get together once a month, once every other month. It depends on kind of the group. And we need each other to just be able to talk and share experiences. And without them, I don't think I could be or strive to be the best version of my mom, or of myself, as a mom. I think you really learn to trust your partner even more. That's been something else. My husband is incredible. He's a firefighter, so he has a crazy schedule. And so navigating that has been challenging. But I think you learn it's a whole new relationship with your partner as well.
It is.
Being a parent, being a working parent. And so navigating that is challenging but exciting all at once. I mean, our favorite time of the day is either in the morning together or at night, and we're just as a family unit. And I'll say my hours for working have changed. I work concentrated hours in the middle of the day when the kids are at daycare, and then at night, I might have to do work once they go to bed. But then I really want to be able to, when they're home, I want to be able to be fully focused on them. Because there was
even as a goal, I mean, that's also very hard.
When your phone is blowing up with maybe a Slack here and there or a text here and there, yes. But I really try to put my phone away for 2 hours. I hate that that's all I get with them. And so I try to put my phone away and put my computer away. I'll say it was really hard kind of right in the transition of maternity leave to coming back. And when they were the baby and they weren't in school yet, and I had grandparents helping, feeling like I wasn't succeeding or doing my best. I wasn't able to do either job well. I wasn't able to focus at work, and I wasn't able to focus 100% at home. And so to be able to find supports that allow you to fully focus in each area, I think has been helpful.
And I think that has also been a little bit more challenging each year. I was reading...
Yeah, you can tell me as it gets older.
Well, not just that. I mean, I was reading something that said, it was from a book. I'll tell you the book afterwards once I remember.
I got that. I never remember the titles.
But it basically said that parents today spend a lot more time with their children than parents did 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago. And on top of that, we have more working parents these days than we did 20, 30 years ago. And we have more women in the executive workforce than we've ever had. And yet women are spending more time with their kids than their parents and previous generations did. And I think about that a lot because and trust me, like, I want to show up to be the best for my team, my family, my community, my girlfriends, and it is really very hard. And I'm sure this this swirls around in your head a lot too, because it does in mine. And I'm like, it's okay if I'm not. I'll just have to accept that it's okay for me to not be 100% in one space, but I am in another space, and vice versa. It's kind of a prioritization game.
And I think that's kind of what I was getting at. Being your best version in both doesn't mean it's 100% at both times. It might be, right now it's 5K time. We're leading up to the 5K, or we're leading up to the season. And I need to spend 90% of my energy at work, and maybe it's 75% at home, and then maybe it flip-flops over the summer when it's a quieter time. But I think that's kind of being able to figure out that balance. It's not a 50-50, absolutely not, and it's not 50-50 all the time. But it's funny you said that about spending more time with your kids. My husband said to me, there's not really a time that our kids don't have, if they're at home, we aren't sitting on the floor with them. And you think back to, our parents, and it was not that way. It was, okay, go in a playpen and entertain yourself. And as you're saying, and this is all while we're also trying to have a career simultaneously, and many of us in executive roles.
Yep.
And I guess there's that driven.
There is.
Go back to the beginning. What's driven? I'm driven to be I want to be that mom that is on the floor playing and not distracted. And I want to be an executive director who is focused at work and concentrates on her job while she's at work. Meanwhile, also getting texts from daycare, and I want to see those pictures every single minute. So you're torn, right? Wherever you are. But I like that balance of, it might be 75-25, it might be 50-50, it might be 60-40. But that's balance at this point.
Yeah, I think.
But if you have the opportunity, don't be scared. It's a hard thing to do, but it is possible.
I love that. It's a hard thing to do, but it is possible. Yeah. Well, we are coming up on our time. I can't believe how fast this has gone. And so I want to ask one last question. You had one advice for smart, driven women kind of navigating a lot of the things that we talked about today, and only you can give them one takeaway. What would that be?
I think going back to the beginning, the advice I got, that it's okay to take that detour, that your career path doesn't need to be linear. Take a jug handle like we do in New Jersey, or take a pause, or take a few steps backwards. But ultimately, by doing that, you're going to get to where you want to be passionately, not just because this is what a piece of paper says you should be going to.
Before you leave, please tell our listeners a little bit more about how to be involved in Girls on the Run and how to connect with you.
Sure. So there are lots of ways to get involved. We have volunteer opportunities. You can go to our website, www.gotrnova.org. It's important to have that NOVA part because there are many councils across the country. So gotrnova.org. Go to our volunteer section, learn about coaching, learning about volunteering at our 5K like I talked about. Come see those girls in action. Come be a cheerleader. Hand out water to them. There are also lots of other little opportunities. If you're interested in supporting us financially, we've got lots of sponsorship opportunities. We've got fundraisers that are also listed on our website as well. Our program, girls do have to pay to participate. And so we're always looking for people to contribute so that we can make sure that any girl in our area, regardless of their ability to pay, can participate, because we will provide scholarships. We don't want the financial burden to turn anybody away. So that's another way to get involved. So we hope to see you as a volunteer, as a financial supporter, at a fundraiser event. Lots of ways to get involved, but check us out online.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for joining us today. And we will see you at the next 5K.
I can't wait. Thanks, Rona.